So last night, my husband decided to throw our entire family away. Our home, our family, our relationship, everything is just now done. Because apparently another woman was more important than all of that. So I had errands to run, came home from running those errands. No, I need ice. Like I was saying, came home from running my errands, couldn't find my husband, walked up. I can't do the flick thing, I'm not cool. Walked upstairs to our bedroom and found him in bed with another woman. Pretty much the worst moment of my life. Not only was she skinnier, prettier, younger, had the most beautiful bronze skin, what the fuck ever, skanky little bitch, but she clearly, I guess despite all of, the pictures of children and stuff in our house, she must have been under the impression that he was gonna be leaving me or that we were no longer going to be married, and therefore started crying and decided to throw her clothes on very quickly and leave our house. So she's crying, I'm crying, and what does my husband do? He chases her outside, leaves me inside. And of course, when I'm like, really? Like, you're gonna chase her? He's like, basically just tells me that like that's what he wants, that I don't make him happy, that this family isn't what he wants anymore, and yeah, that's his decision, that we are no longer what he wants for his life. So I guess that's all there is to it. So when I woke up from that dream this morning, I was still hurt, still upset, heart still broken, rolled over, gave him one of these like looks. He didn't understand why I was upset. Like, how could you not understand why I'm upset that you would do that to me in my dream? Am I still upset? Yes. Do I want to know who she is? Of course. Am I gonna be okay? Are we gonna be okay? I don't know, we'll have to see. He has a lot to make up for. That's all I'm gonna say. Isn't it fun being women? It's just so fun.
Have you ever had a friend that literally hates you for no reason? Because I have. I was friends with this girl in high school. Let's call her Brittany. We were friends for probably a solid 3 or 4 years before I had to block her completely. When we would have sleepovers with a group of friends, this girl would be brutally picking on me the entire time. But when it was just me and her, she was great. She used to call me dumb and say she was smarter than me literally all the time. One time there was a pool party at her house and all the girls were putting on their swimsuits in one room. We were kind of all facing different corners of the wall. And she turned around, told everyone to look at me while I was changing, and started laughing at how skinny I was. Literally was pointing at me and laughing. And this is when I was like 14. Another time when we were like 16 or 17, I was having a sleepover with her and another girl, and she forced me to sleep on the tile floor while they slept on beds with no blankets or pillows, just straight up on the tile. Then she told me at the next sleepover she promised she would give me the bed, and then at the next sleepover the exact same thing happened again, and I slept on the cold hard tile with no blankets or pillows. She also hated the fact that I wanted to be an influencer and that I was actively pursuing that. She would always tell me my career was gonna fail, I was gonna amount to nothing in life, and I was gonna end up homeless on the streets of LA while she was successful. I think part of the reason she was so mad was because her ex-boyfriend confessed his love to me, but I rejected him, and that was also like towards the very beginning of our friendship. Like, I'm telling you, there had to be more. She was also that girl that would immediately start putting me down whenever we were in front of a group of guys, like I was a threat or something, and she was trying to make me look bad in front of them all the time. So eventually senior year rolls around and I decide I am sick of putting up with her BS, and I don't know why I'm doormatting to her all these years and still being her friend when she treats me like that. My light shut off. So I'll tell you how our friendship breakup went. This is when I figured out that this girl is actually crazy. So I just started completely ignoring her and not responding to any of her texts, which worked for a month or two, until one of my other best friends was having a birthday and she wanted all of us to go out to brunch. Obviously Brittany was gonna be there, so I thought, it's fine, there's gonna be like 7 of us there, I can easily just not talk to her, I'll just ignore her. Little did I know what was about to go down in the middle of this restaurant. Go to part 2.
You're literally not gonna believe this, but my fiance wants his dad to check my hymen before we get married. My fiance proposed about 8 months ago and everything seemed to be going really, really well. I'm a virgin and so is he. And he said that he wanted to wait until marriage, which I didn't put up a fuss. I was like, it's fine, we can just do that. I'm okay with that. He told me earlier that in his family, the father always checks the virginity of the bride the night before. And I thought he was joking. I thought it was a massive joke, but he was dead serious. Looked at me in my face, dead serious. He said that the night before the wedding, he wants me to my legs for his father, himself, his brother, and their uncle. I told him there's a fat chance that that's not going to happen, and he was begging me to go forward with this. Begging me. He said, my mom did it, and I just want you to prove to me how much you love me. And I left sobbing. And honestly, I want to call it the entire wedding for this. I want to call it off. But at the same time, besides this, we are absolutely perfect for each other. This is really important to him and his family. I don't know what to do. I'm at a friend's house right now, and I just need help. What do I do?
This is the story time of the worst date that I've been on in my entire life. Let's call this guy Edwin, because that was his name. So Edwin and I had been on only 2 dates, and we were talking for like less than like 3 weeks. He was a really nice guy. Like after our first date, it was my birthday a week later, and he gave me like champagne and roses, just like randomly dropped them off at my apartment. So I was like, he's a vibe. So Edwin and I are planning our 3rd date, and he's like, oh, it's your turn to pamper me. Immediately I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, this date's on you. Like, you're gonna plan it, you're gonna pay for it, you're gonna do everything. And I'm like, because I'd assume that's a fucking joke. So I keep saying to him, I'm like, you're so funny, you're so funny. But I go ahead and I like book the date. I just book one of like my favorite sushi spots, and I'm like, he's like not gonna make me pay. That'd be absolutely insane. Listen, I would not mind paying for a date if I was in a relationship with somebody, not when I'm going on the 3rd fucking date and you're supposed to impress me to try and get in my pants. So the whole week we're talking about this, and he's like, can't wait for your treat. And now I'm starting to get fucking triggered, because in my past relationships, I was like the breadwinner, so I always paid for fucking everything, and I dated losers, so they expected me to pay for everything. So we get to the sushi restaurant, everything's going great, and then they're like, oh, what do you guys want to drink? Like the waiter's like, what do you guys want to drink? And he's like, ooh, I'm gonna get something fancy because Livy's paying today. What? So then I'm like, okay, Livy, time to be vulnerable. Let him know about your past. So I let him know, I'm like, hey, like, just so you know, this is really triggering me, because I was used in my past relationships because I was the breadwinner. So this is like super triggering for me. And if this is like a joke to you, it's really not funny. He's like, I'm not kidding. And I'm like, what? He's still kidding. So the bill comes, and he slides it my way, and he's like, here you go. Man, if you're watching, there's nothing that makes a woman drier in the entire world than you like literally sliding the bill towards her. Like, that's pathetic. But I say, fuck it, you know what? If I'm gonna pay like a baller. So I pull out like hundreds. Go to part 2.
I cheated on my husband with his brother, and I have no regrets. Story time. Me and my husband were high school sweethearts. We got married when we were 20, and then we had our daughter when we were 26. And then we welcomed our son a few months later. I was working a really, really successful job, and we were living the life we'd always dreamed of in high school. My husband would shower me with flowers, gifts, he'd treat our kids like absolute royalty. But then over time he started to get, more and more distant with us. I'd catch him on his phone secretly, and this really began to break down my trust. And that was when I discovered that he was having an affair. We did talk about this, and he said that he didn't feel fulfilled in the relationship anymore, and that I'd become really, really distant. But this was just because I was working so hard to provide for the family since he didn't have a job. And I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted to leave the marriage at this point, but I decided to stay for the sake of our kids. We decided that it might be good to try out couples counselling. And I'm not going to lie, for the first few months, it really, really worked, and we were back to our usual happy selves. Again, the cycle continued. He got really distant, and when I confronted him about it, he confessed to having more affairs and spending nights at other women's houses. He had even had other women in our home, in our bed. What is that about? I moved him into the guest bedroom because I'm not going to lie, I couldn't even bear to look at this man at this point. Throughout all of this, my husband's brother Steve became my main support network. Steve was there for us all of the time. He would pick them up for school, he would look after them, he would make tea when I was working late. This went on for 2 years. 2 years. And at this point, my children started to call Steve Dad. Me and Steve were spending a lot of time together, and I'm not gonna lie, we both absolutely loved it. We really, really clicked. So for Christmas one year, he actually booked me, my husband, and our kids a trip to Fiji. Fiji! Steve was desperate for me and his brother to try and fix things. However, when my husband found out, he told us to F off. Like, babe, it's Fiji. Let's just go for the free holiday. He then just outright refused to go. In the comments, is anyone else turning down a free trip to Fiji? Because I know I'm not. We then had a screaming argument about it. He was saying how he's not going away with our little brats. He called our kids brats. He said that his kids weren't his anymore and they were mistakes anyway. And I'm not gonna lie, this one really upset me and kind of threw me off a little bit. So I thought about it for a little while and realised that this trip was going to happen, but I didn't want to go on my own with 2 kids. So naturally, I asked Steve. So this is now up to date. We went on holiday a week ago. Me, Steve, and all of the kids had an absolute blast. One of the best holidays I have ever been on. And my kids had such an incredible time with Steve. It makes me so happy knowing that they're going to grow up with a father figure like him. So on this trip, we obviously, you know, got it on. And I'm not gonna lie, I chose the wrong brother and the universe showed me the way to the right brother. But anyway, we got back this morning and I find my husband sat on the sofa. Let me know if you want part 2.
So I met a man in 2020. He was a good man. I love that man. He was totally my type, everything that I was looking for in a partner. So when we met, things were going good. And I'd say we got to about the 3rd date before he ghosted me for like a whole week. He then hits me up and he's like, hey, I am so sorry. I've had a lot going on. I really want you to come over to my house. I want to make this up to you. I want to go out. Just come over. So, of course I go, because this is the man of my dreams, and I know he not just gonna do me wrong. Life is busy, of course. So I get to his home. This man's entire face is wrapped up. I'm talking about like from here to here. There's tape all around. I'm like, what happened to you? He's like, oh, I had surgery on my sinuses. And, he's like, I'm not feeling well. I'm like, okay, then why the hell you call me over? So anyways, I'm like, okay, like, do you need me to do anything? He's like, well, I need you to open the door. My friend is here. His friend comes in. Mind you, y'all, there's nothing wrong with the friend. He's like really nice, really respectful. Like he was over there checking on him because he had just had surgery. We're all 3 there, chitter-chattering very awkwardly because his friend's like, I don't know this girl. And I'm like, I don't know him. But anyways, he's like, hey, Stace, would you mind going in the kitchen and fixing us some burgers? And let me tell you something. Who don't cook is me. I was like, burgers? And on top of that, I'm in all white. I ain't come over here to do no damn cooking. So I'm like, no, I can't cook no burger. He was like, well, do you mind boiling me an egg? At this point, I'm like, okay, let me boil this egg so I can go. So I'm like, okay, I'll boil you an egg. So I get on Google and see how long to boil a damn egg for. So I go in the kitchen. This is the most complicated damn stove I've ever operated in my life. And I'm like, I'm having a little trouble. So his friend comes in there and helps me turn on the stove. All while he's sitting over here wrapped up looking at me like. So the eggs have boiled and I give him the eggs and his friend was like, oh, I'm getting ready to go. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to go with you, homeboy. And he's like, Stacey, would you mind staying? I'm like, okay, because again, I'm not trying to show out in front of this man company. His friend leaves. He's like, what type of woman don't know how to cook a burger? You've embarrassed me. I was like, hey, homeboy, I didn't know I was coming over here to cook a meal because I could have ordered something. Like, I'm real good at ordering. He was like, I am extremely embarrassed. I'm like, okay, this is getting a little intense. I'm about to go. I'm like, I'm leaving. I don't have time for this. I'm gone. And at this point, he stands up and he's like, no, I demand you to stay. I can tell you never dated an alpha male. You don't know how to treat an alpha male. I was like, all right, okay, cool, bye. I'll own it. Y'all, this man's face is bleeding profusely. There is like blood just running down his face, on his shirt. And I'm like, I'm like, hey, he's like, shut up. I'm like, all right, you gonna campaign for the Lord to come get you? Who am I to deny you the election? So at this point, he faints and he falls back into like a little chair. Like, I think he was being dramatic, but whatever. So he falls back and I'm like, I'm not gonna touch him because again, I'm in white, and this was a beautiful white dress, and I'm not about to mess up no white dress for somebody who disrespected me. In high intensity situations, I find myself like I have a delay reaction to everything, so I'm just standing there waiting for him to come to. When this dude comes to, he was like, would you mind running to Chipotle for me? I'm starving. I was like, okay, I'll go to Chipotle for you. He gives me his debit card and I go to my car and I'm like, you know what? I was disrespected. So I put the debit card on top of his mailbox. I backed out of the driveway. I left and I was back over there 2 weeks later. Yep, sure in the hell was. Found out he was polygamous, but that's how that story ends.
Get ready with me to tell you how my boyfriend found out I was lying about my age. Okay, before I start, I do not condone this. This is just something that happened to work out for me. And just some disclaimers. This relationship was based online. Like, obviously we're still together and like we see each other, but this was built online. Not to mention, I was 12 years old. That seems very young. Like, I'm aware of that. But like my entire life growing up, I had always been very physically and like mentally mature, at least compared to the people my age. So when I met Caden, he was 15. And honestly, my main thought process was, I don't know this kid. He lives in Canada. I'm never going to see him. This isn't going anywhere, so it doesn't matter. Like, also, I thought he was really cute. And if I told him I was 12, I knew for a fact he would stop talking to me. So I kind of figured, like, what's the big deal? So during one of our little getting to know each other conversations, I told him I was 15 too. And based on how I looked and spoke, I knew he wouldn't question it. Like, when I was 12, people were mistaking me for 18, 21 sometimes. So I was like, I got this. So anyway, we start dating August 20th, 2014. Everything is going great, okay? We're texting all day, we're Skyping all the time. My birthday eventually comes around on November 6th. I wake up to this long, like, happy 16th birthday, I hope you have the best day, just this long, cute message. Meanwhile, it's been 3 months. Like, I forgot that he thought I was 15. So on my birthday, he thought I was turning 16. Now, the right thing to do in this situation is to come clean right then and there. Did I do that? No. My thinking was, it's my birthday. Like, if I tell him, he'll probably get really mad and I won't have a boyfriend anymore. And I'm just not getting broken up with on my birthday. That's just not happening. So I thought, no way am I ruining my day. I'll tell him in a few days, next week, something, but I'll tell him. So I went along with it. I was like, thank you. Oh my God. I go to school. Everything's normal. So that night we're on Skype. Then like out of nowhere, he's like, hey, why did your mom post on your wall happy 13th birthday? First of all, why are you searching me on Facebook? But I play it cool. I'm like, oh, obviously it's a typo. Like, she didn't mean to put that. He was like, yeah, but like everyone is saying happy 13th birthday. I was like, yeah, well. So I was definitely busted and I was super scared that he was going to get mad because, like, I really liked him. All he ended up saying was like, you know, you do not look 13, which I knew. But I'm 21, he's turning 24 next month. It's been 8.5 years and we're very happy.
Story time on how I found out my best friend of 5 years, my baby's godmother, actually hated me our entire 5 years of being friends. And yesterday, she confessed to me after 5 years she never liked me. She hated my guts the entire time. And why you should vet your friendships just the same way that you vet your relationships. Me and this girl was friends since 2020 during the pandemic, like early 2020. We met on social media. I think it was even 2019. We hit it off real well. We had the same interests, I'll just say that. We didn't officially meet up in person until I moved to Atlanta in 2021 because she lives in South Carolina and I was in New Jersey, New York. So obviously coming to South Carolina was not in the plans. We building a friendship. We're getting real close. I get married in 2021. She was already married for 2 years when we met. So our husbands met. They got super close. We had this whole like family group chat. We all close and da, right? We are like peas in the pod, all of us. I say peas in the pod, I mean families meeting each other, hanging out at each other's houses. We even felt comfortable when we found out we were pregnant in 2022 that they were going to be our new baby's godmother and godfather. So this all is catching me by surprise. Had to give you a little backstory. Yesterday, I get a call, ring, 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 ring. Catches me off guard, completely off guard. Homegirl says, hey, I have something to tell you. I've been feeling this way for so long. But mind you, as of recently, I've been telling my husband, I feel like something is off between me and her. Like, you know when you have that feeling, ladies? Like, you know when you know when you know. You have a feeling something is off. But everything kept flying over my head. So she asked, can she call me? We get on the phone. And she's like, all right, I got something to tell you. For the past 4 or 5 years, I've never liked you. I've always been jealous of you. I've always hated you. You can predict. My mouth was like, what? I literally kept saying, what? 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 What are you talking about? We were just planning to see each other next month. All of us, our families getting together and having a good time for the holidays. And this is how you were feeling the entire time? But that's not even the half of what she had to say. She goes on to say that she was always praying against the things that I was praying for. So when I was telling her that my husband and I were praying for a baby, and this was 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, when I was telling her these things, she said that she was praying and hoping that we wouldn't conceive. She was praying and believing that when we were pregnant, the baby wouldn't be born. When I was pregnant around like 26, 27 weeks, you know, when you get tests for gestational diabetes, I was actually diagnosed with gestational diabetes. I had to retake the test. So, you know, you call your friend, you tell your friend, whatever, like, hey, like, pray for me and all these things. Girl said that she was praying that the opposite would happen of what we wanted, which is, of course, for the gestational diabetes to be removed so that I can have a healthy pregnancy. If you know anything about gestational diabetes in itself, you know that that's nothing to play with when you are pregnant at all. So the fact that she found that fun and joyful, and I still called her best friend, and she knew that this baby was going to be her godchild, and she felt comfortable feeling that way, blows my mind. So anyways, the whole time we were on the phone, I'm just listening. I'm just quiet because I'm trying to like take in everything that she's saying, because I actually can't believe that these things were going over my head. One time while I was pregnant, it was November of 2022, and I was due March 2023. I came to her because I had a feeling like something was off. And again, like when you feel something is off, you really need to take heed and pray about whatever it is that you feel is off of your spirit. So I said something was off. I addressed it with her, and we agreed that we both can do better as friends. I should have took that as a sign right then and there to dead this friendship. But she assured me that what I was feeling off was not the case. She was genuinely there to be my friend. The same time I felt this way was the same time I had the gestational diabetes, and she felt a way about me being pregnant, I suppose. She continued on to say that she's always felt competition between us. Whenever I started my photography business, she felt competition in there. Whenever she seen that we were essentially making money moves, I'll just say it like that, she felt some sort of way about that. So last year, December, November, I don't know if you've seen on my TikTok page, if you scroll down, I shared that we were facing eviction, right? She knew about that, and her husband knew about that because we were all close. We're like family. So like we're going to the people that we're the most closest to pray for us and to cover us, that of course that we don't end up on the street with a 9-month-old. This girl prayed that we would not have a home to live in. She prayed, she said this out of her own mouth. She was just hoping that we would end up homeless with the 9-month-old that is her godchild, and then still had the audacity to open up her home for us to live there, even though she was feeling these things. She said that it made her feel like they were doing better than us. This is a best friend, somebody that you're confiding in. I was almost like dishing information for her to pray against on me. Did it for me wasn't the fact that she didn't like me this whole entire time. It's that I gave her access to my child, the one that I had prayed for to be here, and I entrusted her to come into agreement with me for this baby. But she had a whole separate agenda this entire time of canceling his life, and I entrusted her to be his godparent. I'm gonna leave it here because she says way more. If you want to hear part 2, then let me know in the comments. But I'm gonna just leave one thing for you ladies. Vet your friendships the same way that you are going to vet your relationships. The same way that you're going to pray and seek God about if this is the person that you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with. You need to be praying and asking God, is this a friendship I need to be pouring myself out into? You need to pray and ask God for discernment when we're sharing things with friends. That is women. Sometimes we just want to get all close because we like the same things. We like content creation. We all just gonna be friends. We like photography. We just all gonna be friends. And no, like, ask God, what is the kingdom purpose here for our friendship? Is this somebody I'm gonna do life with? Is this somebody I should share my deepest, darkest secrets with? Is this somebody that I can trust with my entire life? Is this somebody I could bring around family? The list goes on. You need to vet your friendships the same exact way that you're going to be vetting your relationships. And that's one thing that I took away from this. And these things for sure will never happen again. Well, all in all, girl, I'm just excited that God has removed the one thing that I knew was a hindrance in my life. And now I can just move forward with what God has for me in this season. But overall, I just feel like this is all crazy. This is like a movie. I can't believe it. Let me know what y'all think in the comments.
I went on a date and my date came in with his girlfriend. Story time. This is a true life story. I'm going to attach text messages so you can see. So I met this guy on Instagram. We've been talking for some time, and then he's based in the US, I think so. Then he was in London and he was like, oh, let's hang out, let's get to know each other. So it's supposed to be like a proper date, but it was Friday and he was like, do you want to go to the club? I said, okay, that's fine. I've not really gone to the club in like few months now. Okay, let's meet in the club. For me, I don't like going to the club on my first date because we will not be able to talk. But I was like, okay, let's meet at the club. So he said I should send my address. He ordered Uber for me. We got there at the same time. When I got there, I saw him coming in with 2 girls and 2 guys, which he never said before because he was like, it was the both of us that we were just going on a date. So we went in. We were there. He was ordering drink. He was doing what's it called, odogu doings. That's not my business. I just came here to have fun. Anyways, the next thing I saw him kissing this girl. You know the way girlfriend used to act now. Like, oh, it's my boyfriend. And she was giving me this side eye. Like, what are you doing with my man? Oh, your man invited me. I never knew you had a girlfriend. Because he said he's coming to, London. And he wants to see me. So I just had my phone. So I felt a bit down because she was with her friend and they were giving me this side eye like, what are you doing here? And they were kissing. He was pouring the girl drinks. He was just asking me, are you okay? In my mind, but I didn't want to get mad because one, he has never asked me out. He was just getting to know me. So let me believe that, okay, there are some times in my head, okay, not everybody you must date. Let me believe that this is just like, what's it called? He's going to be a friend. And like, I just wanted to go home. So I finished. I booked my ride. I went back home. I was okay. I wasn't pissed. I just told my friend, like, this is what happened. This is what happened. Now, tell me why the next day, I will attach the text message this guy sent to me. He sent me his hotel, that I should come and meet him in the hotel. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Oh, where? So I was like, I don't understand. What's this? He was like, oh, let's keep it 100. I was like, are you okay? So first of all, I wasn't rude. I was like, you invited me out on a date for the first time. You came in with your girlfriend and you're telling me to come meet you the next day. Is everything okay at home? And I was like, no, that's not his girlfriend. No, that girl has a boyfriend. He just said one rubbish. But in my mind, you have audacity. I am the person that I used to say that there's people you should not be rude to. But I was rude. Like, I'll just attach few texts so you guys can see. This guy literally told me that, oh, the girl was with, obviously it's his girlfriend, but the guy has a boyfriend. Let's see, say would apologize. I don't understand. You invited moi to a date and you came with a girl. I did not say anything. I went home, I did not say anything to you. I'm not telling him to come back. I will do a part 2. Let me cut this video right now.
I've never told the story about the first time I ever went to the Hype House in 2020 as Willy Wonka TikTok. But since everyone is sharing their stories and their drama from the past, it's my turn to finally tell something. So here we go, all right? My first time to LA as an influencer, I get the golden invite to the Hype House, okay? The plan was for me to go there and to be in a vlog. And so I said, heck yeah, sign me up. So anyways, here I am. I'm in my Uber. I get out. I'm at the Hype House. I'm so excited. I was literally so excited. This is the hype house that has like Hollywood behind the pool, and it's like 4 stories. That one. So I walk up to the front door and no one told me like how to get in. I'm like texting the person who I'm supposed to be filming with, like, please let me in. But no response. Finally, guess who walks by the front door and lets me in? No one other than Markel, who is now like my best friend. I did not know Markel at this time, but Markel is now my best friend in the whole world. And Markel is who let me in that day. So that is pretty crazy. But I get to the hype house. I'm like holding my Willy Wonka bag, and I go in and I meet everybody. And it literally was kind of like that sound, like, hey, how y'all doing? It was kind of that. But you know what? I get it. So next thing I know, I am dressed up like Willy Wonka. Of course, it's my thing, right? And I am tasked with the job of waking up their neighbor, Tana Mojo. It's like 11 a.m., but they're like, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to be dressed as Willy Wonka, and you're going to wake her up. And everybody that keeps hearing this plan is like, good luck. Like, good luck. We don't want to wake her up. Like, good luck. I was brand new to LA. This was my first time visiting as an influencer, and I moved here like 2 weeks later, but I was so scared. So here I am, dressed as Willy Wonka. I march on over to Tana Mojo's house. We open the door. I've never met her. I've never talked to her in my life, right? And here I am. Wake up. You're a bad nut. Haha. Crazy, okay? And then, after this, we all went to Starbucks. I was still dressed as Willy Wonka. I don't think you guys understand how weird this time in my life was, because, like, I couldn't keep putting on the costume and taking off the costume. I just had to kind of, like, stay in the costume because we were constantly making the TikToks and the videos. So that was a pretty crazy day in my life. And later that day, they had this huge glass table. It was probably, like, 11 feet long, okay? And they were all running around shooting airsoft guns. No. Nerf, okay? Next thing I know, one of them jumps onto the glass table. The whole thing shatters. I was just sitting there at the table like, oh. It was wild. But yeah, it was a little awkward. Hey. But I did meet a few great people there. And there were a few people who were extremely amazing and nice. And I loved it. But I did go in and I was like, oh, like, I'm kind of thirsty. Do you guys have any Coke? Except for I didn't say, you guys kind of thirsty. I just was like, hey, do you guys have any Coke? Because I loved Coca-Cola. I still do, but it was like my thing. Like at this time, it was my thing. I would sit on live stream and I would just drink 2 liters. And they were like, which kind? So anyways, it was a pretty crazy experience. I didn't go to the hype house a whole lot. It kind of ended actually right after that. It was during that era, but that's my story. I had to wake up Tana Mojo as Willy Wonka. What a time. I love it.
I can't sleep, so I want to tell you what's keeping me up at night. So you know when people ask you, like, oh, what's the craziest thing that's happened to you in high school? And, like, usually people are like, oh, this crazy party or, like, prom night, like, whatever. Chemistry lab. Year 10. Chemistry lab. I was sitting in the back of the class. I hated that class. Mr. Holloway, if you're watching this. And Mr. Holloway was trying to pour some acid into a beaker or like a big container. And he was saying, like, as long as it's stirred slowly, we should see like bubbles and like a slight poof at the end when everything is mixed in slowly. I don't know what the fuck was going on, right? And he wasn't gonna like put all of it, I don't think. He was gonna only put like a little bit. So, basically I was like, there's this girl that... There's a girl that was sitting in front of me. We're gonna call her Sarah. Sarah's a size medium, but like for fashion, chose to wear like an X small or a small, right? It's a vibe. Trust me, it was a vibe, and like our uniforms, like it was a vibe. But the teachers disagreed, right? However, she decided to well, lie out of a cartoon, and no one fucking believes me. But like. Literally, she started stretching and put her arms like... the button... the button Okay, so the button. So the button flew, and it hit the beaker with the oxygen, and it all just make explode. And the fucking button blew. And no one fucking realized it was. And I didn't want to fucking embarrass her. I saw the whole thing. I was sitting behind her. I saw the whole thing. And I didn't want to say anything because, like, it's already embarrassing. Like, her shirt's open now. And, bro, I just died laughing. Like, I died laughing. And the only other person that saw it was the fucking creep that was sitting right next to her, that was staring into her shirt. And he was the only one that saw that it was her. And when I told my friends, no one fucking believed me. Not a single person believed me because...